curious, conversational. Think back to a specific moment where a single negative thought anchored itself in your brain, a minor mistake or a careless comment that looped endlessly until you couldn't focus on anything else. Take Sarah. She's a highly capable graphic designer with a stellar portfolio, yet she sits at her desk entirely frozen. A single memory of a missed deadline from a past project is playing on repeat, drowning out the work right in front of her. The immediate toll of this loop is highly measurable. Her creative process grinds to a halt, her energy depletes as she stares at a blank screen, and a minor hesitation quickly spirals into severe procrastination. These unhelpful thoughts multiply. They feel less like passing ideas and more like a physical weight, aggressively burying her focus under a pile of failures. The intense frustration here is that Sarah knows the thought is irrational, but intellectual awareness offers no practical defense. Understanding that a mental loop is entirely illogical does absolutely nothing to stop it from paralyzing you. When we hit these walls, we usually default to a standard defense mechanism. We try to simply let go. We attempt to passively observe the intrusive thought and ignore it, but passive observation fails. Ignoring a persistent worry just turns it into an echo. It recedes for a moment, only to regain its paralyzing weight as it inevitably creeps back into your peripheral awareness. This leaves us with a structural problem. If passively observing and trying to let go of an anxious loop fails to clear our minds, we need a more active strategy. The alternative requires active mechanical intervention. It relies on the Pattern Release and Reinitiation Protocol, or PRRP, a framework designed to physically disrupt the mental loop rather than just watch it. To execute this, you first have to step completely out of the internal chatter. This is the priming phase. You ground your mind by focusing entirely on a neutral sensory anchor, like the pressure of your feet against the floor or the ambient sound in the room. Next, you watch the natural flow of your thoughts. You begin to recognize that every single mental event, a stray memory, a sudden spike in stress, has a distinct beginning, a middle, and a definitive end. Once the mind is stabilized, you isolate the anomaly. This is identifying. You locate the specific unhelpful thought pattern holding you back, like Sarah's memory of her missed deadline, and you view it strictly as a mechanical object, detached from its emotional weight. You now have the exact thought isolated. The immediate question is how you actively destroy this specific loop, instead of just sitting back and watching it hover in your mental space. The mechanism for destruction is deliberate release. This is the active, decisive withdrawal of your mental energy and your attention directly away from that isolated pattern. You force the thought cycle to conclude. You mentally grip the pattern, intentionally visualizing its structure breaking apart and dissipating into dust. This approach demands active participation. You are acknowledging the exact structure of the worry and dismantling its integrity through a conscious choice to disengage. But destroying the loop creates a temporary void. Nature abhors a vacuum. Once that negative mental space is cleared, we have to look at what must happen next to prevent the old pattern from rushing back in. To secure the void, you execute conscious reinitiation. You must immediately fill the empty space with precise, pre-chosen data so the old thought has no room to return. The biological mechanism here is direct. The brain naturally forms new neural connections when it is force-fed fresh, highly directed input. You are hijacking the pathway. You begin by inserting a powerful, predetermined verbal affirmation. For Sarah, this meant replacing the self-doubt with a concrete reminder of her proven capability and past design successes. Then, you project a vivid visualization of a successful outcome. You force your brain to clearly see the completed, polished presentation, leaving zero mental bandwidth for the memory of the past failure. Finally, you deploy a purposeful question. You demand an immediate, actionable next step that you can physically execute on the project right now. Aggressively choosing your focus creates a new mental baseline. Each repetition hardens the path until the healthier state becomes the standard response. Deeply ingrained habits naturally carry friction. The original negative loop will inevitably attempt to creep back into your awareness. When it does, rely on a strict reinforcement loop. The moment the old thought returns, repeat the release and reinitiation steps without hesitation. Consistent repetition of this disruption is what strips the old pattern of its power. Every time you intercept and overwrite the loop, its physical grip on your attention weakens. Through relentless repetition, the newly engineered pathway hardens. What begins as a strenuous, conscious effort transforms into a predictable, natural response. The tangible result of applying this protocol is immediate. The mental tension drops, replaced by a sense of vast, fluid mental space. This practice provides the mechanism to shape your cognitive landscape. You identify a disruptive loop, dissolve it, and replace it with a newly chosen sequence. Mastering this protocol provides a reliable tool for mental management. Paralyzing struggles become specific points of intervention, clearing the way for immediate practical tasks.